My name is Kristen Hatcher, and this is in response to Sociology Week 3 questions. The first question is, imagine you are the president of a Fortune 500 company. You start out as a secretary right out of high school and work your way to the top. The vice president, and CEO are always at odds. As an expressive leader, how do you resolve this social dilemma and restore order in the leadership position between these two officers? First, I would make it a point to have separate meetings with the CEO and the vice president, where we would focus on the behaviors and events rather than specific personalities and what they don't like about each other. I would make sure I listen carefully to each individual issue so that we could come up with solutions to each individual problem. Then we would have a group meeting between the three of us, the vice president, me, and the CEO, where we would talk about certain points of agreement and disagreement between the two, and we would modify or change our assessment until both the CEO and the vice president could agree on the areas of conflict. Next, we would talk about the conflicts that are the most important to solve for the good of the company and talk about the resolutions that we three could agree on. Finally, we will create a plan for each singular conflict where we focus on the future and the success of the company. We would have to make sure we follow through on our agreed upon plan and that we kept at the discussion periodically until we managed to work through every area of the conflict. We would also focus on progress when it happens and compliment each other on achievements. The next question is, name the 3 types of formal organization and explain how each is different. Also explain a time when you were involved in one of these types of organizations and the positive and negatives it had within it. The 3 types of formal organization are utilitarian, normative, and coercive. Utilitarian are organizations that we join voluntarily that can provide us with a material reward, like going to work. Normative are organizations we join voluntarily to pursue a common interest or prestige. And coercive are associations that people are forced to join, like boot camps and prisons. And a time that I was a part of one of these organizations, I worked for Habitat for Humanity when I was 16 years old. I feel like that would be a part of a normative organization because I joined it because of the prestige and something that I like to do. The third question is, you decide to run for public office. Although you have little to no experience with elections, holding office, or campaigning, you feel you can be successful since you helped a friend who served in a public office seat last term. Explain how this is a characteristic of Weber's ideal bureaucracy and what you would do to prove your competence under these characteristics. So first, a bureaucracy is a group of specifically non-elected officials within a government or other institution that implements the rules, laws, ideas, and functions of their institutions through a system of administration marked by officials, red tape, and proliferation. Weber's ideal bureaucracy has 6 different parts that are specialization, and that's where all members assigned have specialized roles and tasks. Hierarchies, and that's where the bureaucracy features supervisors of subordinates by higher ranking members and bosses. The third part is rules and regulations, and they are meant to make all operations as predictable as possible. Then there's technical competence, and that's bureaucratic members are specifically trained for their specific roles. Impersonality, rules come before people, no individual receives special treatment. And formal written communication, and that is documents such as memos are the heart of organizations and the most effective way to communicate throughout the company. To counterbalance bureaucracy, bureaucracies taking over individual freedoms, Weber believed that entrepreneurs and politicians were needed. I personally do not believe that just because I helped my friend that I could fully grasp the concept of actually being in office. I think it's great to want to be in office because you want to help people or you want to see some things change. But based on the information given, I don't believe that I would be qualified for the position that I was seeking based on Weber's ideal bureaucracy. And I believe that it would be best to get my foot in the door in other ways before I did something as big as take on running for office. If I did decide to go ahead and run for office, there are necessary steps that have to be taken. The first is getting necessary education and taking public speaking classes, participating in speech and debates, staying up to date on the latest politics in the community and nationally, creating a strong public persona, getting involved in local community initiatives and causes, connecting with community leaders, speaking at local events and participating in local debates, using social media to promote ideas, starting small and working my way up, setting up a political team, outlining my platform with my political team, creating a marketing strategy for my upcoming debates, solicit funding for my campaign from supporters, and to run an honest, motivated campaign. I believe that all these steps would be essential in running for public office, especially for a first-timer. The last question states, as creative manager of a small group of employees in the advertising department, you notice one of your designers has withdrawn from the meeting, offering no input. This employee's alienation concerns you. What would you do to socialize this employee and engage them in their job? Well, first, since we're in the middle of a meeting, I would not want to single out that employee and call attention to them for being alienated because maybe there's something personal going on with them. After the meeting, I would make it a point to speak with that employee to see if it's something personal or if there's something that maybe as a creative manager and their boss that I could do to help them out. If there was, I would take necessary steps to help that person out. And of course, if it was something personal, I would suggest maybe if we had some kind of counseling at work that could help them through it. In the end, I would leave it up to the employee to decide what they wanted to do. I would never want to coerce them into doing anything, to talking to me, but I would just let them know that me and the company were there in case they needed us.